You know that feeling when you trust a piece of information completely? Like, um, when a surgeon tells you an operation was a success, right?
Hmm.
Or maybe an aerospace engineer certifies a new aircraft is safe. We often take that kind of, foundational trust for granted,
We really do.
especially when it comes to something as crucial and frankly complex as a company's financial health.
Absolutely.
Today on the deep dive, we're pulling back the curtain on exactly how accounting and auditing firms work tirelessly to ensure that the financial information you rely on,
Right.
whether you're an investor, maybe a business owner, or just curious about the economy, is rock solid, accurate, completely trustworthy.
Yeah, that's the goal.
We're diving deep into a fascinating, often unseen world known as engagement quality.
It really is fascinating when you get into the details.
Our mission for you today is simple, but I think pretty powerful. By the end of this deep dive, you'll not only understand the rigorous systems behind the scenes that ensure accuracy, integrity, and public trust in financial reporting,
Hmm.
but you'll also appreciate why they are absolutely essential. And as we peel back the layers, I think you'll find it's far more intricate and, frankly, more fascinating than you might imagine.
I agree. It's quite a system.
And to help us navigate this, we'll uncover the 6 core elements of engagement quality, which can be easily remembered with the simple acronym HALP-ME.
A very helpful mnemonic indeed.
Get ready to unpack this.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's unpack this right from the very beginning. Before we get into the specifics, why do we even need such a comprehensive system of quality control in auditing and accounting? It sort of seems like a lot of extra layers in an already complex field.
That's a vital question to start with because it really underpins everything else we'll talk about.
Okay.
What's truly fascinating here is that the need for a robust quality control system isn't just, a suggestion or a nice to have. It's a fundamental non-negotiable requirement. The AICPA Code of Professional Conduct, which is basically the rule book for how CPAs have to operate ethically and professionally, it explicitly mandates that firms providing auditing, attestation, even basic accounting and review services must adopt and maintain such a system.
Wow. Okay, so it's not optional at all.
Absolutely not optional. Zero wiggle room there.
Okay.
And the core purpose behind designing, implementing, and importantly, continuously maintaining these policies and procedures is twofold. And both are absolutely critical to the whole financial ecosystem.
Right.
First, they ensure the firm consistently complies with all professional standards. Those are the detailed rules for how these services should be done and also all appropriate legal and regulatory requirements.
Okay, standards and laws.
Exactly. And that covers a huge, always changing landscape, from specific auditing standards to federal laws like Sarbanes-Oxley for public companies. Second, and just as important, these systems are meticulously designed to ensure that any reports issued by the firm, whether it's an audit opinion on a massive company's financials, a review for a smaller business, whatever, are appropriate for the specific circumstances of that engagement.
Meaning?
Meaning the conclusions reached are sound, they're reliable, and the report accurately reflects the underlying information and, the thorough work that was performed.
Okay.
And the specific, detailed guidance on how to actually build and maintain these systems. That comes from the Auditing Standards Board. They issue what are formally called Statements on Quality Control Standards, or SQCS.
SQCS, okay.
Yeah. These statements provide the comprehensive, detailed framework firms are expected to follow. Think of them as the blueprints for building that reliable foundation we need.
So if we step back for a second,
Mm-hmm.
what does this foundational requirement for quality control really mean for us, the listeners? People who might not be auditors but rely on these financial reports, maybe for investments or just understanding a company's health in the news.
Yeah, connecting it to the bigger picture is key. It means the entire integrity of our financial markets,
The whole thing.
the whole thing. And the fundamental trust you place in a company's reported figures, those quarterly earnings, the balance sheets dictating share prices, even the numbers for a bank loan, it all directly hinges on these foundational quality control systems.
Wow.
They are kind of the invisible guardians of financial accuracy, consistency, reliability. Without them, honestly, there'd be a huge risk of inconsistent application of standards across different audits,
That makes sense.
an increased chance of errors slipping through, or even worst case, deliberate misrepresentations going totally undetected.
So they're really a safety net.
They're the first line of defense, really.
Yeah.
A robust framework ensuring the information you're reading has been subject to rigorous checks and balances. It means the professionals behind those numbers are operating at a consistently high standard, that their work has been reviewed, that they've thought through the potential pitfalls. And this allows capital markets to function efficiently, right? By providing reliable information to millions of investors, creditors, everyone.
Yeah.
It's all about establishing and maintaining public confidence in the financial reporting process itself.
That makes perfect sense. It's about systemic reliability. Okay, so you mentioned the HACE LLP me mnemonic earlier. Sounds like a great way to remember these key areas. Can you walk us through what each letter stands for, giving a quick preview of how they connect?
Absolutely. HLLP-ME is, a fantastic and memorable way to remember the 6 interrelated elements that every firm's quality control system must address.
Must address. Okay.
Yeah, to maintain good quality in their accounting and auditing practice. Think of it like a comprehensive checklist of foundational areas. When they're properly managed and integrated, they ensure the firm consistently delivers high-quality work.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right. So the H stands for human resources.
Okay, people.
Exactly. All about having the right people with the right skills doing the right work.
Makes sense.
The first E represents engagement, client, acceptance, and continuance.
Who you work with.
Precisely. Crucial element. Who the firm chooses to work with, how they assess potential clients, how they manage ongoing relationships.
Okay.
Next,
The L is for leadership responsibilities. This highlights that critical tone at the top and how leadership commitment really drives quality through the whole organization.
tone at the top. Heard that before. Important.
Very. Then the P is performance of the engagement. This covers how the actual audit or accounting work gets carried out, planning, execution, reporting,
The doing part.
the doing part, exactly. The M stands for monitoring. That's the ongoing process of evaluating the firm's entire quality control system, making sure it's effective, always improving.
Checking the checkers.
You got it, checking the checkers.
Okay.
And finally, the second E is for ethical requirements, which is truly the bedrock of trust and integrity in the profession.
Ethics. Absolutely fundamental. Couldn't agree more. And this really raises an important question. How does each of these elements, though distinct, contribute to the overall quality and reliability of an audit?
Yeah, how do they fit together?
See, they aren't silos. They're deeply interconnected, like a web of controls. For instance, if you don't have the right human resources people with the necessary skills,
Right.
you just can't properly perform an engagement. Simple as that. Or if leadership doesn't actively emphasize and reward quality, then ethical requirements might get compromised by commercial pressures. They all have to work together, like finely tuned gears, to create a robust, resilient quality environment.
Right. Okay, so they reinforce each other.
Exactly. Let's dive into each one. Really understand their individual power and how they work together.
Perfect. Let's start with H for human resources. This makes intuitive sense. Clearly need great people for great work. But what exactly does that mean in a professional firm? Is it just hiring smart folks, or is it more involved?
Oh, it's much more involved. This element is absolutely vital because it's about building and sustaining the firm's intellectual capital. That's its most valuable asset, right?
The people.
The people. It covers everything from the moment someone is hired through their ongoing development, professional growth, their career progression within the firm.
So cradle to grave, almost.
Kind of, yeah. It's not just recruitment. It's ensuring the people you bring in and continuously nurture are capable of meeting the rigorous, evolving demands of the profession.
Okay, so what areas does it cover specifically?
So human resources encompasses several key operational areas. Recruitment strategies, specific hiring criteria, looking for competent, ethical people who fit the firm's culture,
Right.
determining the specific capabilities and competencies needed for various roles, junior, associate, up to partner, and making sure people have them.
Okay.
Assigning personnel to engagements, matching the right people to the right tasks based on skills, experience, complexity. That's huge.
Yeah, I can't just throw anyone at anything.
Absolutely not. Professional development is a massive part. Mandatory continuing education to keep skills sharp, up to date with new standards, new tech.
Always learning.
Always. And finally, robust performance evaluation systems, fair compensation structures, and clear advancement opportunities that genuinely recognize and reward quality work. Ethical conduct, professional growth, not just billing hours.
Rewarding quality, not just quantity. Key difference.
Massive difference. And the ultimate goal of all these policies is to provide the firm with reasonable assurance on several fronts.
Like what?
First, that those hired possess the right characteristics to perform competently from day one. Not just academics, but critical thinking, judgment, professional demeanor.
Got it.
Second, That engagement partners, the ones signing off, have the necessary competencies. Leadership, profound professional judgment, all of it.
The buck stops with them.
Exactly. Third, that work is consistently assigned to people with the required technical training and proficiency for the circumstances. You wouldn't put a rookie on complex derivatives solo, right?
Definitely not.
Fourth, that personnel actively participate in continuing professional education and development. The landscape is always changing.
Gotta keep up.
Always. And finally, that individuals picked for advancement genuinely have the qualifications for their new, often tougher, responsibilities. And that evaluation, compensation, advancement procedures actually reward quality and competence.
So the incentives match the quality goal.
Precisely. If they don't, the system breaks down.
Can you give some practical examples? How does this look day to day?
Sure. Think about policies like requiring timely identification of staffing needs so firms can recruit proactively, avoid being short-staffed, which leads to mistakes.
Right. Planning ahead.
Planning for the firm's total personnel needs across all engagements, ensuring enough qualified talent everywhere. Background checks on new hires, basic but essential for integrity. Supervisors preparing performance evaluations, structured feedback for growth. Mandatory training attendance, baseline knowledge, consistent methods, considering continuity and periodic rotation of personnel. This broadens experience, prevents complacency, brings fresh eyes to long-term clients. Helps independence, too.
Ah, rotation. Interesting point.
Yeah, and providing opportunities for structured on-the-job training. Crucial for practical skills, learning from experienced pros in real situations.
So it's not just hiring smart people, like you said. It's continuously nurturing their skills, matching them to tasks. It's about building a robust, adaptable, constantly improving team. Sounds like a ton of work.
It is. It's like tending a highly specialized garden, ensuring every plant gets the right sun and water. Not just throwing seeds and hoping.
Good analogy. So what's the core takeaway here?
Ultimately, it ensures the firm builds a self-correcting organism of talent. Expertise isn't just hired, it's continuously cultivated, ensuring a deep bench ready for complex challenges. It's the human engine driving everything else.
Human engine. I like that. Okay, moving on. Our next E in Help He Me is engagement client acceptance and continuance. Sounds like a crucial gatekeeping function. How do firms decide who they will or won't work with, and why is this so critical?
Oh, this element is profoundly important. It's fundamentally where the firm sets its boundaries, protects its own integrity, its reputation, its capacity to deliver high-quality work.
Setting boundaries. Okay.
Policies are established for rigorously accepting new clients and also for carefully continuing with existing ones. Because, a client suitable last year might not be this year due to changes in their business or ethics.
Right, it's ongoing.
Exactly. These policies provide several primary assurances. First, they aim to minimize the likelihood of associating with a client whose management lacks integrity.
How do they judge that?
It's not just a casual glance. It involves deep due diligence, considering the reputation of the client, owners, key management, related parties, board, audit committee.
Looking at the whole picture.
The whole picture. Also, the nature of their operations' high-risk industry, aggressive accounting. Critically, their overall attitude towards things like pushing accounting rules or commitment to internal controls.
So if a potential client seems shady,
A responsible firm will likely walk away, even if it looks lucrative. Protecting integrity comes first.
oh, they come.
Second, these policies ensure the firm only undertakes engagements it can reasonably expect to complete with professional competence.
Meaning, do they have the skills?
Exactly. Capacity and capability. Do we have enough people with the right specific knowledge for this client, this industry? If not, can we get it training specialists without compromising quality or deadlines? Are specialists available for complex areas like IT, valuations? Can we meet reporting deadlines?
So don't bite off more than you can chew.
Precisely. Taking on too much or work outside your expertise is a recipe for disaster. Direct path to compromise quality.
Got it. And third?
Third, and paramount, the firm must be able to comply with all relevant legal and ethical requirements.
Like independence.
Independence is huge here, rigorously identifying and evaluating potential conflicts of interest, financial interests, close personal relationships,
Okay.
and crucially, maintaining independence, both in fact, so their mindset is unbiased, and in appearance, how a third party sees it throughout the whole engagement. Without independence, the audit opinion loses its value.
Absolutely.
Beyond these assurances, the firm must get a clear understanding with the client. Nature, scope, limitations of the service, usually documented in an engagement letter. prevents misunderstandings later.
Clear expectations.
Yes, and any significant issues during the acceptance or continuance decision and how they were resolved must be thoroughly documented. Creates an audit trail of the firm's due diligence.
Documentation, again, seems critical.
Always. And crucially, firms need well-defined policies for withdrawing from an engagement or ending the client relationship if serious issues pop up.
Like what kind of issues?
Issues that compromise the firm's ability to perform competently or ethically. Maybe discovering fraud they won't address, or management integrity issues surface. These policies include documenting the significant issues, consultations held, conclusions reached, the basis for withdrawal, discussing it with client management and governance.
Right.
And considering any professional, legal, or regulatory requirements to stay, or maybe even report the withdrawal and reasons to authorities, especially if fraud is suspected.
That's serious. Any examples of this acceptance process in action?
Sure, firms might review or propose clients' financials, credit rating, assess stability, health. They might inquire with third parties, banks, lawyers, prior auditors about the client's reputation, get outside views.
Digging deeper.
Definitely. They rigorously evaluate the firm's specific ability to service this client expertise, industry knowledge, resources, and they periodically reevaluate existing clients for continuance. Check if the initial assessment of integrity and competence still holds true.
So it's like a comprehensive background check plus continuous monitoring, ensuring they're taking on good business they can handle ethically and competently.
Exactly. It really highlights that the firm's integrity starts not even with the audit work itself, but with the very handshake of acceptance. And it continues throughout the entire relationship.
The integrity starts with the handshake.
Powerful. Okay, our L in HLLP-ME is leadership responsibilities. We often hear tone at the top. How does leadership specifically drive quality in an auditing firm? What does that actually look like? Is it really effective?
Oh, absolutely. This element underscores that quality in a professional services firm starts right at the very top. The firm's leadership managing partners, executive committee, they bear ultimate unwavering responsibility for the firm's entire quality control system.
They own it.
They own it. It's not something they can just delegate away. Their actions, decisions, messaging, that creates the firm's foundational culture.
So it's more than just words. Much more. Leadership must actively create and foster a culture that prioritizes quality above all else. This tone at the top isn't just a mission statement. It actually seeps into every corner. Influences how everyone, from senior partner to new associate, approaches work, makes judgments, resolves issues.
And if leadership cuts corners,
the whole firm likely follows, consciously or not, which can be disastrous long-term for reputation and trust.
Okay, so what are the key commitments that show this dedication?
Several key commitments really demonstrate it. First, a clear, undeniable emphasis on quality over commercial considerations.
Quality over profit.
Essentially, yes. Pursuing commercial success, maximizing fees, winning clients, hitting revenue targets should never, ever compromise the commitment to high-quality work and adhering to standards. So if there's a conflict between fast and right,
quality must always win. It can be tough in a competitive market, but it's non-negotiable for trust and avoiding failures.
Okay, what else?
Second, the firm's performance evaluation, compensation, and advancement structures must clearly demonstrate a commitment to quality. Putting your money where your mouth is.
Exactly. If partners and staff are rewarded mainly for billing hours or sales, but not for rigorous quality, thoroughness, ethical conduct, the message is clear.
Right.
Instead, these systems should overtly incentivize and reward quality outcomes, professional skepticism, meticulousness, following policies, financially reinforcing that quality is truly valued.
Makes sense. Third,
sufficient resources must be actively devoted to developing, communicating, and supporting the quality control system itself.
Not just an afterthought.
Definitely not. This means adequate financial resources for training, technology, ensuring enough skilled people are tasked with managing quality initiatives, investing in the tech infrastructure needed. You can't have a robust system if you don't fund or staff it properly.
Right. You need the tools and people.
And finally, crucially, those individuals with operational responsibility for the quality control system must have appropriate experience, ability, and authority to manage it effectively.
The quality control leaders.
Yes. They need to be technically competent, understand the firm's diverse practice, and have the authority to enforce standards without fear of reprisal or being undermined by commercial pressures. They're the frontline champions of quality empowered by leadership.
It sounds like a true, deeply ingrained commitment, not just lip service. Leaders literally put their money and influence behind quality. That's a powerful statement. But
Mhm.
is it genuinely easy for firms to consistently put quality before pure profit in this competitive world? Where are the tension points?
That's a vital point, and it's exactly where the challenge lies for many firms. It's often anything but easy.
Yeah, that
The biggest tension points pop up with tight deadlines, or maybe a lucrative client presents unique challenges, or when staffing is stretched thin.
real world pressures.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Prioritizing quality means sometimes saying no to a big potential client if their integrity is questionable, or if the firm just doesn't have the specialized resources.
Turning down money for quality.
Yes. It means assigning more senior, experienced staff to a complex job, even if it's less profitable short term, because quality demands that oversight. It's about building a culture where thoroughness and skepticism are celebrated, and shortcuts are seen as career liabilities, not efficiencies.
Takes real resolve.
Unwavering resolve from leadership.
Mm.
But it's the core differentiator of a truly reputable firm. The alternative, damaged reputation, regulatory penalties, much worse in the long run.
That really brings the L element to life. Okay, P in help PEME is performance at the engagement. This is where the rubber meets the road, the actual execution. Once a client's accepted, how do firms ensure consistently high performance across all engagements, especially with diverse clients and industries?
This element is indeed the operational heart of quality control, focusing on the practical application of quality principles throughout the engagement itself, start to finish.
Making sure the work gets done right.
Exactly. Ensuring every step is performed with diligence, consistency, professional skepticism, leaving as little as possible to chance.
How do they achieve that consistency across so many different jobs?
That's a primary goal. Firms establish meticulous policies and procedures. This can be done through several practical means, using written or electronic manuals outlining standard methods, best practices, detailed work programs.
Like a playbook.
Sort of, yeah. Leveraging sophisticated software tools for data analysis, risk assessment, efficient documentation. Using standardized documentation templates ensures all necessary work is recorded completely, uniformly.
Standardization is key.
And providing extensive guidance materials tailored for specific industries, unique client situations, complex subjects. These tools and resources provide common framework, ensures that despite different teams and clients, a baseline of quality is always met, ideally exceeded.
Okay, what else is crucial for performance?
Supervision and review. Paramount. Ensuring the engagement is appropriately supervised and work is properly reviewed at every level. It's a critical check and
The
balance.
supervisors guiding junior staff.
Yes. Ensuring work aligns with the plan, addressing challenges, verifying tasks are completed effectively, fostering learning while maintaining quality.
And documentation management. You mentioned documentation is key everywhere.
Absolute critical here too. Strict policies govern engagement documentation, confidentiality, protecting sensitive client info, safe custody, preventing loss or damage, integrity, ensuring it hasn't been altered inappropriately, accessibility and retrievability, so papers can easily found for review or inspection, and retention, adhering to laws on how long docs must be kept, often years.
Wow, that's comprehensive.
Vital for compliance and providing a complete defensible audit trail.
What about tricky situations, complex issues?
That's where consultation and dispute resolution come in. For complex, unfamiliar, unusual, difficult, contentious issues, personnel must be able to consult experts, internal specialists, tax, IT, or external ones, valuation, legal.
Leveraging collective knowledge.
Exactly. Avoids isolated, potentially flawed judgments. Equally important. Having a clear process to resolve differences of opinion within the team.
If auditors disagree.
Yeah. Junior disagrees with senior. Even partners have differing views on a critical accounting treatment. There must be a transparent way to elevate and resolve these disagreements before the report is finalized. Fosters critical thinking, prevents issues being overlooked or suppressed.
That sounds healthy.
It is. Now, a really critical component within performance is the Engagement Quality Control Review, or EQCR.
EQCR. Okay, what's that?
It's an objective evaluation of significant judgments and conclusions reached during the engagement. Guidelines dictate when one should be performed. Great care is taken to appoint an appropriate reviewer who is independent of the engagement team, wasn't involved in the daily work.
A fresh pair of eyes.
A fresh, experienced, technically competent pair of eyes. Importantly, even with an EQCR, the engagement partner remains fully responsible for the engagement and the opinion.
Okay.
The EQCR procedures involve objectively evaluating critical judgments, conclusions, the report's appropriateness, supporting documentation. And crucially, this review must be documented and must be completed before the engagement report is released.
A final checkpoint before it goes public.
A vital final checkpoint.
Any specific examples of these performance policies?
Sure. Firms might designate individuals or departments with specific SEC expertise for complex public company issues. They might have a policy to refer highly technical questions to groups like the AICPA or state societies, tap into broader industry knowledge.
Using external resources.
Yeah. Developing and using standard audit forms, checklists, questionnaires helps consistency, completeness, methodology adherence. Establishing clear procedures for reviewing engagement documentation and reports ensures methodical scrutiny. And using passwords, encryption, other robust means to restrict access to documentation emphasizes data security, confidentiality, paramount with sensitive client data.
That's a truly multi-layered approach. Standard tools, expert consultation, critical oversight really shows the meticulous nature of ensuring quality every step of the way. But with so many steps, where do teams typically face the biggest challenges in maintaining this high performance? Is it always smooth sailing?
That's a fantastic question, because while the system is robust, the real world always throws curveballs.
Right.
I'd say the biggest challenges often arise with unforeseen complexities in the client's business or transactions. An audit plan exists, but new issues always pop up.
Adapting on the fly.
Yes. Then there's pressure from clients for quick turnarounds or certain accounting treatments. Creates tension with quality objectives.
Oh, the client pressure.
Always a factor.
Hmm.
Staffing issues, inexperienced personnel facing complex tasks without enough supervision or just not enough skilled people for a tough audit. And technological integration can be a hurdle ensuring all software tools are used effectively. Data is secure across platforms.
So rarely seamless.
Rarely seamless. It's a constant effort, maintaining vigilance, adapting to new info. That's why layers of review and consultation are so essential. Ultimately, the focus is confirming that every piece of the audit puzzle fits perfectly. Checking not just that the work was done, but that it followed all rules, captured key findings, incorporated expert advice, leaving no stone unturned.
That practical insight is really helpful. Okay, M in helping me is for monitoring. So even with all these checks and meticulous execution, firms don't just set it and forget it, right? There's an ongoing process, checking the checkers, like you said.
Exactly. Monitoring is the firm's overarching way of continuously evaluating its own quality control system. It provides reasonable assurance the system is relevant, adequate, operating effectively, and that people are actually complying with it.
The feedback loop.
Precisely, the essential feedback loop ensuring the whole system evolves, stays effective, adapts to new challenges.
How does that work? What does monitoring involve?
It involves ongoing consideration and evaluation of both the design of the system, is it well conceived, does it cover everything,
Right.
and its effectiveness, is it actually working as intended in the real world?
Design and effectiveness.
Both. This continuous assessment helps the firm determine key things. Have they consistently complied with professional standards and legal regulatory requirements across all engagements? Has the quality control system itself been appropriately designed and effectively implemented? And most importantly, has the system operated effectively in ensuring reports issued are appropriate?
So self-correction, learning, accountability.
All of that. Systemic accountability
Who does the monitoring?
should always be performed by qualified individuals. Technical expertise, objectivity are key. And significantly, a partner or someone with appropriate experience and authority within the firm should bear ultimate responsibility for the monitoring process itself.
It gives it weight.
Exactly. Ensures the function has gravitas, independence, resources to be effective, make tough calls if needed.
What kind of procedures are involved?
They're robust and multifaceted.
Mm-hmm.
Ongoing engagement quality control reviews, EQCRs for individual jobs, which we discussed. Also, post-issuance reviews of engagement documentation, looking back at completed audits after the report is out. A retrospective look at compliance, effectiveness.
Looking back to learn.
Yes. Formal inspections internal by firm personnel not on the original audit, and external of a selection of completed engagements. These dive deep into work papers, judgments, conclusions, looking for systemic issues.
Inspections sound intense?
They can be. More specific activities include reviewing administrative records, work papers, reports, financials, looking for patterns or recurring issues across the firm. Discussions with firm personnel and management, crucial for qualitative feedback. Understanding challenges, getting suggestions from the ground up.
Talking to the troops.
Essential. Findings from all this are summarized, and critically specific corrective actions are determined and implemented. The process also involves assessing the firm's guidance materials, internal methods, checking compliance, ensuring they're up-to-date, effective.
Okay. And peer review, you mentioned that.
Yes, a significant and very visible part of monitoring is peer review, a unique, powerful external validation. One CPA firm formally reviews another CPA firm's compliance with its own quality control system.
Wow. Reviewed by your competitors almost.
By fellow professionals, yes.
Yeah.
An independent check. To maintain membership in the AICPA, the main professional body, a firm must have a peer review every 3 years.
Mandatory.
Mandatory. Powerful external check fosters industry-wide standards. The firm being reviewed can select a reviewer from an approved list or ask the AICPA or state society to pick one.
Okay.
Afterwards, a formal report is issued. Conclusions about the quality system, recommendations for improvement, and the stakes are high. Failure to take corrective actions for deficiencies can lead to sanctions. Additional monitoring, even suspension of AICPA membership, which really limits their ability to practice.
Serious consequences.
Very. And for public company audits, there's another layer required by Sarbanes-Oxley, the wrap-up or second partner pre-issuance review.
Another review.
Yes, by a partner not otherwise involved in the audit. Similar to an EQCR, but specifically for public companies. Focuses on fair presentation according to GAAP, ensuring evidence supports the opinion. A last, high-level, independent look before a report hitting public markets goes out.
Got it. And documentation.
All monitoring procedures must be thoroughly documented, deficiencies noted, corrective actions taken, crucial for demonstrating commitment to quality, proving issues are identified and addressed systematically. The firm also has to address any complaints or allegations of non-compliance that come up. It's an iterative process. Evaluate, act, improve, continuously.
It's fascinating how much self-assessment and external validation goes into this. Clearly a system designed for continuous improvement. Very reassuring. Quality isn't static, it's a constant pursuit.
Absolutely right.
Okay, last but certainly not least. Our final E in Help He May is ethical requirements. This feels like the moral compass, the bedrock of trust. How is that embedded in quality control?
Indeed. This element is arguably the most fundamental, permeating everything else. Policies and procedures here are meticulously established to provide reasonable assurance that all personnel maintain independence.
Independence again.
Always. Both, in fact, their actual state of mind is impartial, unbiased, and in appearance, how an informed third party would see their relationship with the client, in all required circumstances.
Fact and appearance both matter.
Both matter hugely. Beyond independence, it ensures personnel perform all professional responsibilities with unwavering integrity and maintain strict objectivity. Without these ethical commitments, all the technical brilliance, all the rigorous processes, they lose meaning and credibility.
The foundation crumbles.
Exactly. Independence isn't just a concept, it's the absolute cornerstone of auditing. It means impartiality, freedom from any obligation to or interest in the client. An auditor's opinion is only credible if it's seen as completely unbiased, uninfluenced by any ties to the company. That's why it's so rigorously defined and policed.
How do firms safeguard this? What are the key safeguards?
Several key safeguards. First, independence requirements must be clearly, comprehensively communicated to all firm personnel, partners down to admin staff, because even indirect relationships could potentially compromise it. Training, regular reminders.
Constant communication.
Yes. Second, robust policies to actively identify and evaluate potential threats to independence. Could be financial interests, family relationships with client management, previous employment, even long-standing professional relationships, breeding familiarity.
Lots of potential threats.
Many. Once identified, appropriate action must be taken immediately to mitigate or eliminate them. Reassigning people, requiring divestiture of financial interests, maybe even declining the job if the threat can't be adequately addressed.
Proactive mitigation.
It has to be. Third, and this is a vital act of commitment, at least annually, all personnel subject to independence requirements must formally confirm their independence in writing, paper or electronic.
An annual pledge, basically.
Kind of, yeah. A powerful reminder of obligations creates a documented record of commitment. Finally, the quality control system should address requirements for personnel rotation, especially lead partners on public company audits. Prevents relationships getting too close, too cozy over time, which could erode professional skepticism. Regular rotation brings fresh perspectives, mitigates familiarity threats.
Rotation for fresh eyes, again, makes sense. Can you give examples?
Sure. Firms maintain detailed records who used to work for clients, who has relatives in key client positions. helps identify conflicts early, keep those people off relevant jobs.
Tracking relationships.
Yes. Proactively notifying all personnel about names of publicly held audit clients so staff can check for and avoid prohibited investments or relationships. Clear procedures to confirm with staff, often via questionnaires or affirmations, that prohibited relationships don't exist.
Verifying compliance.
And throughout all training and supervision, a constant, explicit emphasis on independence of mental attitude. Not just following rules by rote, but genuinely cultivating an unbiased, objective mindset when approaching the work and making judgments.
It's a mindset, not just rules.
Exactly.
This truly highlights how vital trust is. Not just rules, but a deeply ingrained commitment to impartiality and integrity. The ethical bedrock makes you feel more confident in the reports. So what's the core message from this ethical component?
The core message is that ethics is the conscience of the entire system. It ensures that behind every number, every opinion, there's an unwavering commitment to truth, impartiality, and public trust. It's the reason the public can and should have faith in financial statements.
The conscience of the system. Well put. Okay, we've built our understanding with HLPME, the 6 pillars. But to really appreciate this, we need to understand how these pillars get applied in the real world. Let's look at some overarching principles shaping how controls are implemented across different firms. What else is important for understanding the full scope beyond HLPME?
Yes, absolutely. Beyond the 6 elements, a few other critical aspects shape how a firm's quality control system is designed and functions practically. They provide important context, recognizing firms aren't all the same size or type.
Right, nuances matter.
They do. The first is the nature and extent of quality control itself, highlighting its flexibility. It's not one size fits all.
Tailored to the firm.
Exactly. The specific nature and extent depend on several factors. The firm's size, a small local firm, won't have the same structure as a global giant. Its organizational structure, centralized or decentralized. Nature and complexity of its practice, mostly small tax jobs, versus auditing huge public companies.
Big differences.
Huge. The degree of operating autonomy given to personnel and individual offices also matters. More autonomy might mean more robust central oversight. And finally, cost-benefit considerations. The system needs to be effective without being unnecessarily burdensome or economically unfeasible.
Practicality matters.
It does. This flexibility ensures smaller firms aren't treated like global giants. They can tailor their systems while still adhering to the overarching principles.
Okay, what's next?
Second critical consideration: communication. Quality control policies are only effective if clearly, consistently, effectively communicated to all firm personnel.
Everyone needs to know the rules.
And understand the objectives behind them. Emphasize individual personal responsibility for quality and the importance of feedback for improving the system. While written communication isn't strictly required by the source.
But it helps.
Oh, it's almost always very helpful. Provides a tangible, consistent reference. Ensures uniform messaging. Imagine trying to run things complexly just by word-of-mouth chaos.
Yeah, needs to be written down usually. And finally,
Documentation. The firm must document its quality control policies and procedures. Like the system itself, the extent of documentation can vary based on size, structure, nature of practice.
simpler firms, simpler docs.
Potentially, yes. But documentation is absolutely essential. Provides a clear, verifiable record of commitments to quality, how the system is designed. An indispensable audit trail for quality efforts. And this documentation must be retained for a sufficient period. Historical record for internal or external review.
So it's not rigid, but a tailored system adhering to core principles. Highlights the practical reality across diverse firms. That flexibility is key, but within a framework. Okay, speaking of standards, you mentioned professional standards earlier. This often brings up confusion. Are generally accepted auditing standards,
Yeah.
GAAS, and quality control standards the same thing? They both sound like they're about good auditing.
This raises a truly important question. And yeah, it's a common area of confusion, even sometimes within the profession.
Okay, set us straight.
GAS and quality control standards are not synonymous. They're intimately related, they work together, but they serve distinct, though complementary purposes.
Okay, different but related. How?
Think of it this way. GAA's generally accepted auditing standards relate specifically to the conduct of each individual audit engagement.
One specific audit.
Exactly. The rules, the benchmarks for how one specific audit is planned, executed, reported on.
Yeah.
When an auditor audits Company X, they must comply with GAS for that particular audit.
Yeah.
It's the day-to-day work, the specific evidence, the opinion for that single engagement. It's the recipe for baking one perfect cake.
Got it. The recipe for one cake.
And quality control.
Quality control standards relate to the conduct of all professional activities of the firm's practice as a whole.
The whole firm.
The whole firm. They set the overarching framework, the infrastructure, the system for consistent quality across all engagements. The firm performs audits, reviews, tax, everything. So GAS tells an auditor how to do an audit. Quality control standards ensure the firm has robust systems so all its auditors perform all their engagements properly and consistently.
Using our analogy, quality control standards are about ensuring the entire bakery operates flawlessly. Are the chefs trained? Kitchen clean. Ingredients sourced properly so that every cake produced is consistently excellent.
QC is the whole bakery operation. GAS is the recipe for each cake.
Exactly. You absolutely need both to deliver trustworthy results systematically.
Makes sense. How do they relate, then?
The interrelationship is crucial. An effective quality control system is undeniably conducive to complying with GAS on individual jobs. If a firm has strong QC, good hiring, robust review, it's much more likely its individual teams will adhere to GAS. The QC system provides the supportive environment, the tools to enable GA compliance.
QC helps GAS happen.
Right. Now, what's fascinating and often misunderstood is the distinction about deficiencies. A deficiency in a firm's overall quality control system doesn't necessarily mean a lack of compliance with GAS on any one specific engagement.
How so?
Example, a firm might have a weak monitoring process, a QC element, flaw in the bakery's inspection routine. But a particular audit could still have been done perfectly according to GAA by an exceptionally diligent team, a perfectly baked individual cake.
Okay, one good cake despite a bakery issue.
Right. Similarly, if there are QC deficiencies on an individual engagement, maybe a specific review wasn't done right on one audit, a single cake had too much sugar. That doesn't necessarily mean the firm's overall QC system is insufficient. The bakery as a whole is still great.
Got it. Systemic weakness versus individual lapse.
Exactly. One can influence the other, but they aren't automatically indicative of each other. It's ensuring the forest is healthy and each tree is thriving. But a problem with one tree doesn't doom the forest, and a general forest issue doesn't mean every tree is sick.
Forest versus trees. That analogy is spot on. And the bakery one, too. Really clear and important distinction. Okay, building on that. If GAS is about making sure each individual audit tree is healthy, how deeply is individual work reviewed within an engagement? What are the layers of assurance to catch errors before a report goes out? This digs deeper into that performance P element.
This is a truly crucial layer of quality assurance. Directly impacts report reliability, the fundamental principle. All work performed on an audit must be reviewed.
All of it.
All of it. Purpose is twofold. First, determine if the work was adequately performed and properly documented, completeness, accuracy. Second, critically evaluate the results relative to the conclusion that will be in the audit report, making sure everything aligns and supports the final opinion.
How does that review happen? Who does it?
The partner with final responsibility owns it, but they can delegate some review duties to other qualified team members, consistent with the firm's QC system, of course.
Right.
Important hierarchy exists. Work should always be reviewed by team members who are senior to those who perform the work.
More experienced eyes reviewing.
Exactly. Critical check and balance. Catches potential issues early.
What does the review actually look for?
Several key points. The reviewer meticulously looks at: was the work performed according to professional standards, like GAAS, and applicable laws regulations? Do significant findings or issues need further consideration, more work, follow-up?
Checking compliance and significance.
Yes. Were appropriate consultations held on difficult matters? Were they documented and conclusions implemented? Was the nature, extent, timing of work appropriate given the risks? Does it need revision? Does the work performed actually support the conclusions reached, and is it properly documented? Clear, defensible evidence trail.
Connecting the dots.
Absolutely. Is the evidence obtained sufficient and appropriate to support the auditor's report? Paramount for a credible opinion. And finally, were the overall objectives of the engagement achieved? No lingering questions. This comprehensive checklist ensures thoroughness.
Sounds very thorough. What about the lead partner's role in review?
The engagement partner has specific, timely review responsibilities they cannot delegate. During the audit, and crucially before the report date, they must meticulously review critical areas of judgment, especially difficult or contentious matters where judgment is key.
The tough stuff.
The tough stuff. They focus intensely on significant risks identified during planning, ensuring team responses were adequate, properly executed, including fraud risks, And they review any other areas they deem important based on their experience, deep knowledge of the client. It's a vital top-down check. Most experienced eyes on the most critical elements.
Partner oversight is key, and documentation of the review.
Rigorous requirements there, too. Audit documentation must clearly include who performed the work and the date completed. Equally important, who reviewed the documentation and the date of review.
Clear accountability trail.
Exactly. Provides transparency, ensures the review process itself is traceable, verifiable, builds an unbroken chain of responsibility and quality.
This level of scrutiny really emphasizes accountability, thoroughness at every level. Multiple sets of eyes, increasing experience, ensuring perfection before the report goes out. A true layered assurance system.
That's the goal. Absolutely.
Okay, our journey continues by considering how the type of company audited might change these standards. Is there a difference in quality controls for a private company versus a public one?
Yes, absolutely. The source material specifies particular responsibilities for engagements involving non-issuers.
Mhm.
Essentially, private companies or organizations not issuing securities to the public.
Private companies, nonprofits, government audits, maybe?
Exactly. Financial statement audits of privately held businesses, reviews of their interim financials, government financial audits under U.S. GAAs.
Okay, so what's specific for them?
As part of the firm's overall QC system, engagement teams for these non-issuer audits have direct responsibility to implement QC procedures applicable to managing their engagement quality. They also have a duty to provide the firm info related to the team's independence, ensure no conflicts.
Team responsibility.
Yes. At the engagement level, the auditor's objective for a non-issuer audit is clear. Provide reasonable assurance the audit complies with professional standards, applicable legal regulatory requirements, and that an appropriate report is issued.
High standards even for private entities.
Absolutely. Ensures the work is high quality, the report is reliable for users like lenders or private investors.
Who's mainly responsible on these non-issuer audits?
The engagement partner is the absolute linchpin, personally responsible for the overall quality of that specific engagement, even if they delegate procedures.
The partner owns it.
Owns it completely.
Yeah.
They rely on the firm's overall QC system, but responsibility for that audit is theirs. During the engagement, the partner must stay alert for non-compliance with ethical requirements by team members. Take action if needed.
Watching the ethics.
Yes. Form a conclusion on the firm's and team's compliance with independence requirements for that client. Be satisfied appropriate client acceptance continuance procedures were followed for this client. Be satisfied the team and any external specialists have the necessary competence.
Confidence is key.
Absolutely. Take personal responsibility for direction, supervision, performance of the engagement, and the report being appropriate. Ensure all required reviews are done per firm policies. Be satisfied, through review and discussion, that sufficient appropriate evidence supports conclusions and the report. Ensure appropriate consultation happens on difficult matters.
A very hands-on role.
Very comprehensive set of responsibilities.
Is there an EQCR for non-issuers too, that engagement quality control review?
Yes, there is. It provides an objective evaluation of significant judgments and conclusions. For non-issuers, an EQCR is performed only when required by the firm's specific policies. Not always mandatory, like for public company.
Depends on the firm's policy.
Right. But if it is required, it must be completed before the partner releases the audit report. The reviewer can be a partner, another person in the firm, a qualified external person, or a team. Critical point. None of them can be part of the engagement team. Separate and independent.
Independent reviewer again.
Must be. And must have sufficient experience and authority to objectively evaluate the team's judgments.
What does the reviewer focus on for non-issuers?
Typically, discuss significant findings with the engagement partner, read the financial statements and proposed report, meticulously review documentation related to significant judgments and conclusions, digging into the supporting evidence. Evaluate the conclusions reached, including key audit matters, if applicable, those really challenging areas, and consider the overall appropriateness of the proposed report.
Okay. Any timing issues to know?
One extremely important timing note. If the EQCR is completed after the report date and finds a need for more evidence or procedures, the report date must be changed to the date when those additional procedures were actually completed.
Ah, so the date reflects the final completion.
Exactly. Ensures accuracy.
This shows how much responsibility rests on the partner, and that even for non-public entities, the quality checks are rigorous. Significant commitment for every client.
Definitely. Quality standards apply broadly.
Now, let's turn to public companies. Issuals. Stakes are incredibly high, millions of investors, the whole market relies on the reports. What additional layers of quality control are in place, especially under PCAOB standards, for utmost integrity and public trust?
This is where oversight gets even more stringent, prescriptive, because of the huge public interest, broader economic impact. The Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, or PCAOB, oversees public company audits in the U.S., sets highly demanding standards.
PCAOB. Okay, what do they require?
PCAOB standards require an engagement quality review A&D, crucially, a concurring approval of audit report issuance for all audits of issuers, and for reviews of their interim financials, too.
Concurring approval. Sounds serious.
It is. And note, while required for public companies, many firms apply these rigorous EQRs to non-issuer audits, too, as best practice.
Going above and beyond. Good. Who does this review for issuers?
The engagement quality reviewer must be a partner, not otherwise associated with the engagement. Emphasizes critical independence, truly fresh objective eyes. This reviewer must also be competent, truly independent, objective, act with unwavering integrity. They're the ultimate independent checkpoint before public release.
Highest level of scrutiny. What's the PCAOB review process like?
Incredibly thorough, far-reaching. The reviewer holds detailed discussions with the engagement partner and key team members, digs into rationale, judgments, extensively reviews audit documentation. Primary goal: evaluates significant judgments, the overall conclusion. Not a quick glance. A deep dive into the most challenging, high-risk, impactful aspects.
What specifically do they evaluate?
A comprehensive list. Deep dive into planning. Judgments on prior client experience, identified risks, materiality levels, what misstatement level matters to investors. Evaluate the team's assessment of and responses to significant risks, crucially including fraud risk. Evaluate judgments about materiality, corrected and uncorrected misstatements, internal control deficiencies.
Really detailed.
Very. Meticulously review the evaluation of the firm's independence. Ensure no compromises, real or perceived. Review the engagement completion document, confirm no unresolved matters linger. Thorough review of the financial statements. Management's report on internal control, the proposed engagement report.
Stepping everything.
Everything. Read other info filed with the SEC annual report, etc.
Yeah.
Check for material inconsistencies or misstatements of fact outside the core financials. Evaluate consultations on difficult matters, review documentation, conclusions. Evaluate communications with management, audit committee. Regulators ensure transparency, proper governance. Evaluate if documentation clearly shows appropriate response to significant risks and supports conclusions. Evaluate determination, communication, documentation of critical audit matters, those highly challenging subjective areas.
Wow, that is an exhaustive review.
It has to be. And then comes the really powerful final safeguard under PCAOB standards, the concurring approval of issuance.
Tell me more about that.
Not a formality. It has absolute authority. The firm cannot give the client permission to use the engagement report until the engagement quality reviewer provides this concurring approval.
The report is on hold until they sign off.
Literally on hold. Cannot be released. And crucially, approval can only be given if there are no significant engagement deficiencies.
No significant deficiencies. What qualifies as significant?
A very serious matter. It exists when the engagement team failed to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence, didn't do enough work, or gather enough reliable info to justify their opinion.
Okay.
Or the engagement team reached an inappropriate overall conclusion their opinion was wrong given the facts. Or the engagement report itself is inappropriate, contains errors, misleading, fails requirements. Or, critically, the firm is not independent of the client, which completely undermines credibility.
Any one of those stops the report.
Anyone is a showstopper. If a significant deficiency exists, the report simply cannot be issued until it's fully resolved to the satisfaction of the engagement quality reviewer.
Wow, that concurring approval of issuance is a serious barrier. Truly ensures a second, objective, highly qualified set of eyes signed off. Given the green light before a report impacting millions of investors and the market is released, that rigor is incredibly reassuring for the capital markets. Vital protection for the public.
It's designed to be exactly that, a final, powerful safeguard.
We've taken a truly comprehensive deep dive today into engagement quality. It's abundantly clear. Reliability of financial info isn't left to chance. It's the result of deeply integrated, multi-layered systems, from hiring right, choosing clients wisely, meticulous work, continuous monitoring, unwavering ethics, all supported by strong leadership.
Absolutely. It's vital for anyone relying on financial statements, investors deciding where to put savings, business partners evaluating mergers, just someone trying to understand the economy to truly appreciate the meticulous effort behind the numbers.
Yeah.
These quality controls aren't just bureaucracy. They are the bedrock of trust in our financial systems, the foundation for informed decisions, market stability.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? When you encounter financial reports, maybe for an investment or just understanding a news story, you can now appreciate the unseen architectural integrity behind those numbers.
Hmm.
It's a powerful reminder that even in complex fields, a profound commitment to quality, ethics, rigorous review protects everyone, not just the firms, but every single user of that information.
And this raises an important question, doesn't it? In an increasingly complex, rapidly changing global economy, new tech like AI, blockchain, evolving business models, how will these rigorous quality control systems continue to adapt and evolve?
Good question.
How will they meet new challenges, ensure integrity of new data forms, maintain public trust in a constantly shifting landscape? It's a testament to the ongoing vigilance and adaptability required in the financial world.
A truly thought-provoking question to leave you with. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into engagement quality. We hope you feel a little more well-informed and maybe even a little inspired by the dedication to accuracy and integrity in the world of auditing and accounting.